there everyone, Rebecca here, the Dragon Librarian from Farmington Community Library, and Elle and I are here today to talk to you about some really exciting books because we are still continuing on with our favorite books that we read in 2023. This is actually going to be the last video in that segment, and I saved the most exciting one for last because today we're going to be talking about my favorite graphic novels, children's graphic novels that I read in 2023. I know, right? It's super exciting. So I read a lot of books. I know we've been talking about that. Well over 400 books this past year. So there were a lot of books I had to sift through to figure out which ones were my favorite. So in terms of graphic novels, I read a lot of graphic novels, a lot of manga, because I really like them a lot. And there were some that just really stood out to me. There are ones that I read that I'm still thinking about, or the artwork was really amazing to me, and those are the ones I want to talk about today. So like I said, this is going to be the last video in that segment. I'm excited to read so many books this year, to be able to talk about some of my favorite from 2024 at the end of this year, which seems forever and forever away. So let's talk about my top 5 favorite graphic novels of 2023. The first one is Grace Needs Space, and this one's by Benjamin A. Wilgus. Grace Needs Space. So you might be able to tell, even just from the cover, why I loved this one so much, and the artwork had a lot to do with it. The story was obviously fantastic. It was so great. But the art in this one just really absolutely stole my heart. So this is about a girl named Grace who lives on a space station with her mom, and she thinks her mom is kind of boring, right? So they don't really ever go on an adventure. She helps her, with her work and things like that, but she just wants to go on a big adventure. So when her other mother, who travels out in space, has time for her to go and visit with her, she's really excited because she works on this freighter. She can go traveling with her for a little while on this trip. But when she gets out there, she realizes that outside in space can be a little bit scary on her own, and her other mother seems to not really have a whole lot of time for her like she had thought. So Grace has to basically come to terms with those feelings as well. So what I love also is the title, because it can mean 2 different things, right? So Grace needs space, like she needs some space from her mom that she lives with to spend time with her other parent. But it also means Grace needs outer space because she's ready for her great big adventure. So like I said, I love the artwork in this graphic novel. I think that the expressions on the characters' faces are just so absolutely beautiful. There's this one in particular where Grace is watching this storm roll up, and she's like simultaneously thrilled and excited, but also scared. And I think that is captured so well in her expressions. There's so many parts of this book. I really liked seeing all the different places that her mom took her to when they were on their trip together, or the places that she saw on her own when she maybe had sneaked off. But it's just so beautiful, and the art is just great. It's phenomenal. Everything about it. Highly recommended. So if you're looking for a graphic novel that's really fun and the art is beautiful but has a really great story too, Grace Needs Space. And this is one that I don't remember hearing a lot of people talking about, so it definitely could use some more love. So the next one that I absolutely adored was Seance Tea Party by Reimena. Seance Tea Party. Now, I was really drawn to this because of the cover. Like, there's so much going on here, right? And isn't it so cute? It just looks like such a cute, folksy little cover. And this is another one where the story and the artwork really just stole my heart. So this is about a young girl who is feels a little bit set apart from most of her friends because she still wants to play outside and have adventures, but a lot of her friends around her are becoming interested in like parties and boys and stuff like that, and she's just not really into that stuff. She still wants to use her huge imagination and create these fantastical worlds of make-believe and imagination, and she feels kind of alone until she stumbles across this ghost who is also kind of lonely and looking for a friend. So they strike up this beautiful friendship, and they go on all these adventures together and tell each other everything about themselves, and everything is fine until our main character starts to grow up a little bit, and our ghost friend starts to wonder what is her actual place in this friendship and, you know, in this world. So this is a wonderful story about growing up, about friendship, about the friendships that we cultivate as we grow, but also about the friendships that we have right from when we're young, right? And what happens to those friendships when we grow up. It's a really, really wonderful coming of age story. But again, like I really, really liked about this was I really enjoyed the art. It was very cute and folksy, just like the cover suggested. I loved the artwork. I loved the characters in this. It was just so cute, and watching these two girls, even though one of them was a ghost, be friends with each other and just have a great time together, I loved it. And I really love stories about friendship. I have such a soft spot for graphic novels, particularly about friendship and growing up, because I think they're really wonderful. And we can always, it's something everybody goes through, right? Everybody grows up at some point, and, you know, friendships change, and, you know, they morph over time, and sometimes they stay the same, but sometimes they look very different. And I think that that's a really cool thing to read about. So another great story where the artwork is fantastic, the story is just beautiful and fun. Seance Tea Party. And look this author up, Reimena, because she's got another graphic novel that I really, really liked too that I read last year. So she's definitely an author to look out for, because everything that I've read by her is fantastic. All right, the next one is kind of interesting because it's an oldie but also a newbie. How can that be the case, right? So this is Anne of West Philly by Noelle Weir. Now, you may have kind of guessed it. You can kind of maybe tell from the cover and the way the script is written up here. Anne of West Philly is a modern day retelling of a classic novel, Anne of Green Gables. Now, a couple reasons why this book made it on my list. One, I am a huge, huge sucker for retellings of classic books. So I love when they take a classic story and relate it to the here and now, so that young people can relate to a lot more, maybe more so than they would the original tale. And I love this author, Noelle Weir's work, because she wrote one last year that ended up, well, she wrote it and it ended up on my list last year of favorite graphic novels, and it was a retelling of The Secret Garden. So she's another author to look out for, because she's been doing these fantastic retellings, and this one is no different. So this one, instead of Green Gables, you know, in Canada, this is taking place in Philadelphia, and it is about a young girl named Anne, who, it's a coming of age story, another coming of age story, but it's very different than the original story. Anne here is still trying to find her place in the world. She is still this vibrant, amazing young woman, but she's also a girl who is interested in robotics. She's very unsure of herself. I love all the things that they added to this new incarnation of Anne. And whether you are a huge fan of the original product like I am, I loved Anne of Green Gables, I grew up on that, or whether you're coming to the story for the first time, there is something here for everybody to love. And the artwork is absolutely phenomenal. I loved it. It was so many of the same characteristics of the original tale, right? You've got Anne living with Marilla and her brother, and you've just got her, like I said, she's loving robotics, which is obviously a new thing in this iteration. Her friendship with Diana, like so many things have been brought from the original story, but there's so many new things too. So like I said, whether you are a fan of the original story or whether you are looking for something new and you're looking to jump into this is a great place to come to this story. Anne of West Philly. And check out her other works too, because like I said, she's got a really good reputation, at least with me now, for retelling wonderful classic stories in a beautiful, bright new way in graphic novel form. All right, we're down to the last two, right? So we're looking at graphic novel number 2. That was my favorite graphic novel series. Now this one I actually talked about not very long ago, and it's Hooky, and this is by Miriam Bonastre Tour. Hooky. So this is a really interesting graphic novel series because it was originally a webtoon, it means it was only online. You could only get online and read it. And they recently turned it into a physical graphic novel form, which is great because it's going to reach a lot more readers this way. So it's 3 volumes only, tells a complete story, so you don't have to wait and worry about missing something or there's new volumes coming out. You don't have to worry about that. Only 3 volumes. And it tells the story of these twins, Danny and Damien, who are magical users. So they are both witches, but they're growing up in this fantasy world where witchcraft is persecuted. And even though it used to be legal to persecute witches, and it's illegal now, there is still a lot of prejudice that people have against those who can use magic. So the twins miss their bus to go to a magical school. That's how the story starts. And basically they have to find lodging with this warlock and learn from him. In the meantime, they befriend the young princess and a whole host of other characters. And basically they have this like ongoing quest to bring magic into people's lives more and to make it more accepting and have people, not be persecuted anymore. So I loved this story. This is definitely a very story-driven series, but also very character-driven. I loved the challenges that these characters went through throughout the course of the story. There is a big jump in between book 2 and book 3 in terms of time. So books 1 and 2 take place pretty much one right after the other, but then there is a 3-year gap from when book 2 ends to when book 3 starts. So when you're reading it, they are a little bit older and everybody's a little bit different and coming to the bringing different things to the table. But I have to say, I love the characters, I love the story, but my favorite part of this is the artwork. If you like anime and manga and things like that, it has a very anime feel to it. It's a very dialogue heavy graphic novel series. There's a lot of talking, but the pictures and the illustrations and the colors are just absolutely gorgeous. I just absolutely love this series so much. Highly recommend it, and like I said, it's totally worth checking out, especially since all 3 volumes are out now. You can check them all out. Yeah, they are a little bit thick. Particularly volume 3 is pretty thick, but I think you'll get through it pretty quickly because the story is very fast-paced and there's a lot going on. And there's so many characters to love. There's a lot of characters in this. Hooky. Okay, so we are down to the wire. We're down to my number one favorite graphic novel that I read in 2023. And that is D&D Dungeon Club Roll Call by Knox Ostertag. So this is another graphic novel that I picked up because actually I didn't know about it, and my librarian friend that works in the children's department was like, hey, there's this new graphic novel that's out and it's by this author that you really like. And I was like, oh my gosh, I absolutely need to read this immediately. And I'm so glad I did. Knox Ostertag, if you haven't read anything by her before, absolutely amazing. Everything they come up with, I just absolutely love. So I was really excited to read this too. Now, yes, this is a Dungeons and Dragons sort of themed book. However, I just want you to know that I have never played Dungeons and Dragons. I want to, but I just never have gotten around to it yet. So I don't want you to think, oh, this is about D&D and I don't know anything about it, so I probably won't get it or I probably won't like it. Doesn't matter. You don't have to know anything about it before starting this. In fact, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I learned a lot about the game just from reading this graphic novel. So it's totally worth reading it, even if you don't know anything about the game. I think if you do know about it and you're a fan of it, you will love it even more. But there is so much to enjoy about this. I mean, for someone who doesn't play the game, for this to be my favorite graphic novel for young people that I read this year, or last year rather, that's pretty cool, right? So this is about a girl named Jess who is just really struggling in her middle school. She's having a hard time making friends. She's just doesn't like talking to people. She's just really having a hard time. So thankfully for her, she is still able to play this Dungeons and Dragons fantasy game with her best friend Olivia. They've always played it together. It's their special thing that bonds them together, and she's really happy that she has her one friend. She doesn't need other friends, right? She's just got one, and that's all you need, right? Well, when another kid and some other kids, in addition to that, want to start playing with them, and Olivia is thinking of making this like a school thing, like maybe starting a D&D club, Jess is feeling really torn about that because she doesn't want to share not only Olivia, but her character and the game with other people. So it's a lot of a struggle between Jess and Olivia, with Olivia wanting to branch out and bring more people into it because the more the merrier, right? But Jess kind of feeling like, well, I don't want to share this, and I don't want to share my best friend with other people. So what I also really loved about this, which number one, I really, really liked the art. The art for this is just fantastic. But it's also really cool because as the story is being told, you're following along the actual fantasy story as well. So not only are you getting the story of school and everything going on there with Olivia and Jess, but you also have this story of what's going on with their characters within the game, which is really, really cool. And every time new characters are introduced, you get this little like background about them, so you're reading about them as if they are characters in the game. It's just really, really special. And I love the story about friendship. Like I said earlier, I'm a big sucker for stories about friendship. So this one in particular was just really fantastic. I thought it was amazing and wonderful. I loved it so much, and I'm still thinking about it. I think about the fantasy element of it, the Dungeons and Dragons element of it, and how well it was incorporated in the story. But I'm also thinking about the way friendship was talked about, the way, like I said earlier, I love stories about how friendship can change as you get a little bit older. I know there's a lot of stories about that out there, but I don't think you can get enough of them because it's something we all experience, right? And it's just fantastic. The art is great, the story is great, the characters are great. Do not miss this one. Whether you're a fan already of Dungeons and Dragons or not, you will love this. I pretty much guarantee it. Dungeon Club, roll call. Well, that's what we've got for you guys today. I hope that these sound really exciting, and maybe there are some that you haven't heard of before that you want to give a try to. And if so, please feel free to come and check them out from Farmington Community Library. We do have them at the library, and I hope that you really enjoy them. Thank you so, so much for watching, friends, and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day.